Hi everyone, it's Niamh here. Welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with making graphic backgrounds in our pages using the Artist Almanac as a bit of a inspiration. So the page I'm doing today is January 15 from my Artist Almanac, and you can sort of see that on the left hand side. It's got this lovely eye in the background, and it's got these beautiful sort of graphic circles happening in the background. So I decided I was going to have a bit of a play around with some different media. So I've just got the newest range of the distress crayons, watercolor pencils. I keep calling them crayons, they're watercolor pencils, from Tim Holtz. And I thought that would be a really interesting way to put some color onto my background. So I'm being really, really scribbly, and I'm using sort of the color palette that's on the almanac to guide what I want to do. So I found that this has been a really great way to push me outside my comfort zone, use colors, use materials that I don't necessarily use. You can see in the background I'm using lots of graphic shapes, I'm using lots of circles, lots of squares, and line work and so on. So it's a lot more angular than a lot of the backgrounds I do. There's a bit more going on. All the things that I've used in the background are water soluble. One of the reasons why I chose to use the watercolor pencils, just had to think about that, use the Stabilo oil pencil, and you can sort of see that bleeding out. Then I've sprayed the whole page with water, and I'm starting to put on some of this Tangelo gloss spray, and you can see by having that go onto a wet surface how it's wicking and bleeding and blending in a little bit more than it would do if it was just going on straight, particularly on craft paper. If it's not going onto a sealed surface, it will sort of soak in really, really quickly. So having gesso or something in the background, adding some water, will help it sort of blend out a little bit more easily onto your page. Then added in some stamping, again just to add a little more black on the page and to balance it out a little bit. I have a real thing about, I love having text on a page anyway, so if I can do that in some way, that I find that really useful. I was finding it a little bit too much in my face, so I decided to get my gesso out and just blend it in a little bit, again because a lot of the materials are water soluble. By using the gesso, it will activate them as well, but it sort of blots it out a little bit. To do the eye, I cheated somewhat. I had this beautiful sheet of eyes from Scrap FX. Unfortunately, they've gone out of, they've retired, so they're closed down now. But I do know there's lots of places like, Jane Davenport sells washi eyes. I think the Dina Wakley has some transparency eyes. I've got a feeling Natalie May does something with eyes as well. So you can usually find them somewhere. I do know there's some eye stamps as well. And if you look on YouTube, there's some great tutorials on how to draw eyes. But for this type of artwork, it's just easier to glue one on. You could also cut out a eye from a magazine or trace over the top of it as well. I liked it, the fact it was on collage paper, so I could sort of blend it in a little bit more onto my page. So I'm just going in and I'm actually drawing over the top of it. So I am using my Stabilo oil pencil just to get that depth of color. Any printed materials that you're going to have on your page are always going to be a more grey colour than black, so they're not going to have that true colour, I suppose, when it prints. So if you want to boost it up, you'll probably have to colour over the top of it. Then going in and adding some colour to the iris and into the whites of the eye, again to sort of black out the fact that it's actually a collage piece, and it's make it look more like it's part of the end result. So once I've put in the catchals in the eye, the little reflection of light as well, And then I'm going to go in and just with really, really sort of scribbly writing, I'm going to put a quote on. And I could have used my Posca paint pens to do this, but I actually wanted to be really quite soft because I wanted the eye to be a focus rather than the quote. So that's why I chose to use a pencil instead. I think if I'd used the paint pen on it, because everything else was done with pencil or watercolor crayon and so on, I think it would have been a little bit too heavy-handed over the top of it. So I'm just going in and doing sort of final little tweaks, sort of putting little barbed wire pieces on some of the endings, adding in a little bit more white to push it out from the background a little bit, hide in those paper trails a little bit more. Just sort of going in and making sure that I was happy with how it all looked in the end. Then I'm decided I wanted to add a little bit more colour. So I got my cheddar gloss spray and I'm just spreading some on the page just to, again, blend in, dissolve some of those lines, give it a little bit more, I suppose, a grungy graffiti look in the background, breaking up that really sharp circle and giving it some interest. So you can see I always put the original piece onto my page, the inspiration piece, and here is a close-up. So you can see those drips, the scrapes of paint, how it all blends in again. So this is how I've used my Artist Almanac as a bit of a jumping off point to explore a new style. For those of you who've got one, I hope you find this useful, and for those who don't, hopefully you can get your hands on the 2025 version. Until next time, bye for now.